Early last year, at around the time that President Daniel Arap Moi passed on, I said Gideon Moi was an inactive volcano that could erupt anytime. I also said a little earlier, perhaps towards the end of 2019, on some TV station, that Gideon Moi was a giant, a sleeping giant. Actually, a giant who was just taking a nap. Many people laughed it off. But the last 2 or so months have vindicated me. Gideon Moi has come out more assertive, more eloquent, more open, more confident, and looking very presidential. Gideon Moi has traversed this country, sailing BBI perhaps more than anybody else, maybe only second to Raila Odinga. From Migori to Nyeri, to far-flung Lamu and Garissa, he has moved across the country, sailing BBI. He has come out as a really presidential man. This has got me thinking. Is Uhuru Kenyatta intent on changing his script? Is he changing the factory settings? This is not an empty question. Because earlier on this year, in Mululu, Vihiga County, at the burial of Musalia Mudavadi's mother, Uhuru shocked the country when he said that those who are selling and peddling the dynasty versus Haisla should know that other people could also say the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin have had enough. Now, this coming from Western Province, in Musalia Mudavadi's home, people interpreted this to mean he was endorsing Musalia Mudavadi. So now we have Gideon Moi and Musalia Mudavadi leading me, and I think other questions, other Kenyans, to begin to wonder whether Uhuru Kenyatta is changing his mind about Raila Odinga. You know, when on the 9th of March, the handshake happened, many people like me thought and believed that Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to solve the Kenyan problem by addressing the Luo problem, the Luo sense of betrayal and persecution. I believed, and I think many Kenyans believed, Uhuru was aware that the two most political communities in this country, the Luo and the Kikuyu, and the Mount Kenya in general, whenever these two came together, such as 1963, such as 2002, there never was a problem in this country. Everything was smooth. Politics was smooth because the two were the most political communities. Yet, the Gema community, through Kenyatta 1, Kenyatta 2, and even Daniel Arap Moi, have continuously throughout the history of this country, betrayed the Luo people. The Luo have been betrayed because despite what Jaramogi did, Kenyatta really didn't treat Jaramogi well. Despite what Raila did, Kibaki Tosha, Kibaki and indeed his people did not treat Raila and the Luo people well. The Luo have felt persecuted all the way from Agwin Skothek, Tom Mboya, Robert Ouko. Put into the mix the feeling that they have been denied development during successive regimes merely because of their opposition politics. So many people thought when the handshake happened, Uhuru Kenyatta was intent on settling this betrayal by supporting Raila Odinga to become president. But now with Gideon coming up, with Musalia Mudavadi, questions are beginning to emerge. Is Uhuru going back to factory setting? Is he changing things? Now, supposing that were to be the case, would Uhuru succeed in his succession plan if he were to support either of these gentlemen, Gideon Moi? My honest opinion is that Gideon Moi is a prince. Prince does not fight for the crown. The prince is given the crown, sometimes through inheritance, clear inheritance, even constitutional, such as that of the UK. The prince does not fight. And I believe that Gideon Moi will be or may be president of this country, not through fighting it out, but by fitting into a succession plan. My thinking has always been that Uhuru will get a stopgap president, a caretaker president sort of, and that is how Raila comes in. That Raila would be president 2022, 2027 as you process Gideon Moi. So I don't see Gideon Moi fighting for it. I see Gideon Moi coming in more or less the same way Uhuru himself came in. Moi was not defeated in 2002, the way some Kenyans believe. Never. Actually, I'm writing a book on that. Moi's game plan was to process Uhuru, and therefore Kibaki was stepping in deliberately. Nobody defeated Moi. That's why Uhuru is president today. So I think Gideon will come in more or less the same way. Musalia Mudavadi. Musalia Mudavadi is a safe pair of hands. He cannot hurt a fly. Throughout the territory of Kenya, you will not find anywhere where somebody has something against Musalia Mudavadi. Therefore, if Musalia Mudavadi became president, nobody will have an issue. From central to Nyanza, to western, to coast, to northeastern, to Turkana, everywhere in this country, Mudavadi is a safe pair of hands. He's a man anybody can trust. You can leave him in your house and go away on holiday. You are sure he cannot antagonize any member of your family. If you allowed him to sleep in the sitting room, that's what he will do. He's a gentleman. And therefore, he can take care of this country. That explains why Uhuru and William Ruto had wanted to entrust the leadership in the hands of Musalia Mudavadi before the demons came in, before my demons stepped in. Because they knew if Mudavadi was at State House, they were safe, everything was okay. He will do everything to ensure the ICC case went well. But the question then lingers around. Mudavadi is behaving the way Gideon should behave. Waiting to be given is not for Musalia Mudavadi. It's for Gideon Moi, who is a prince. Mudavadi is not a prince. His father could have been somebody, but is not a prince. And therefore, Musalia Mudavadi must fight for the seat. More than that, if Uhuru were to endorse Musalia Mudavadi will have something in the belly, fire in the belly. The question is, does he have it? Will he fight William Samoei Ruto? Will he win against? Because beyond being supported, I've said repeatedly, you must bring something to the table. Does Musalia Mudavadi have something to bring to the table when the fight is against William Samoei Ruto? Sometimes I have my own doubts. That brings me back to Raila Odinga. In my view, he seems to be the safest bet for Uhuru Kenyatta. He has everything it takes to take on William Ruto and floor him, perhaps in a knockout. That's what I think. And therefore, for Uhuru Kenyatta today, this morning, I want to advise him, be careful as you listen to members of the deep state. Be careful as you listen to some mandarins at State House. Be careful as you listen to people in the public service, including Harambee House. You might be safer going by your instinct. You might be safer going by your original thought. Think hard about the advice you receive from these quarters. Why do I say this? As I finish this, I say this because your succession plan to you must succeed for two reasons. One, you owe it to some earlier script to ensure Gideon Moi becomes president. For that to happen, you must win 2022 through the person you will support. If the person you support does not win 2022, your intention to have a successor along the line, the successor you have in mind, and you must have had in mind for many years, because you are part of a script that begins with your father. You must win it 2022. So as you listen to advice, make sure the man you settle on will do that. Secondly, if you do not win 2022, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the person who wins, if it's William Samoei Ruto, will dismantle everything, will bring everything you had in mind to a stop. You will never have a say on anything, leave alone trying to help Gideon perhaps at some point become president. So for you, you must ensure that the person you put on the table as your successor is a kind of person who at the end of the day is able to deliver, because deliver you must in order to keep your script running. I believe strongly, finally, that you have the intention to right wrongs in this country. I believe you want to bring peace in this country, President Uhuru Kenyatta. And part of that, actually, in order for that to be realized, your succession plan must succeed. If your succession plan succeeds, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, then there will be peace in this country. But for that succession plan to succeed, you will have to be extremely careful. You will have to be extremely careful in who you bring on table as the presidential candidate for the handshake. Why am I saying this? Because if you continue dilly-dallying, not coming out clearly, not showing direction in terms of who will succeed you or who you intend to succeed, you don't have to say it. It has to be even choreographed, but you have to make it clear. You have to make it clear as soon as yesterday. Because the more you delay, the more things could go wrong. Not just because William Ruto could win, because you could open a small window for another person. I've said this before. When people see the two fighting bulls, there is something happening as the two bulls are fighting. You could crack, you could open and you could create a crack somewhere, and a third force could emerge. That force, just like William Samoei Ruto, when they occupy State House, my friend, there's nothing you'll do. Your succession plan, the intentions you have for this country, the noble intentions you have for this country could come to naught. So ensure that you manage your succession in such a way that there is clarity in terms of who you want to succeed you.